Speak. My name is Christina Miner. I am the host of this podcast. And tonight we have special guests, one being Bret Miller, who was, I'm gonna let him tell his own story, but he was definitely at the age of 17, found a lump, and he's going to explain everything else that he found. He's going to share his story, his journey before, during, and after. Well, not after, but now. And then his mother is here. Her name is Peggy Miller, and she is going to share from the perspective of a caregiver. And then also both of them are going to share from the perspective of actually finding and co-finding an organization. And I'm going to let you all hear directly from them. I am so honored for you all to be up here tonight. And thank you so much, Peggy and Bret. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. So, Bret, definitely. I want to hear from, first of all, from both of you from the perspective of Bret. Who is Bret? Like, outside of having breast cancer, being a survivor, outside of being the founder of this organization, like, who are you as a person? To describe to the audience who you are. You can use adjectives, you can use whatever you want to describe who you are as a person.
Well, I'm Bret Miller. I'm from Prairie Village, Kansas. For those that may not know where that is, just think Kansas City, Missouri area, the general area, great barbecue, Super Bowl champ, go Chiefs. And then not so much the Royals right now, but KC Royals, let's go. No, I just myself, I love sports. I love watching them. I love hanging out outside, being active, and that's the way I was before my diagnosis. I throughout high school, I played sports. I did football and wrestling, some intramurals, just fun stuff, and always was working out, going to the gym at least 5 times a week, and all that kind of changed about the time when I got diagnosed with cancer. That kind of like pulled some things back, but I was outside of high school at the time. So I always try to help others as much as I can. I always try to help around the house, siblings, family, extended family, and just friends, and just love hanging out with friends and living life. So that's me in a nutshell, but I love sports. love my Chiefs and my Royals.
Awesome. And Peggy, before we ask Bret about his experience and what happened prior to, like, what is something that you can describe far as yourself? Like, who's Peggy?
Well, I was, for one, a single woman until I got married at age 29. And then 3 years after that, I was blessed to have my first son, Blake. I have 4 children, now adults. I have Blake, Bret, Morgan, and Bobby. And a proud mother, but also a proud grandmother of 3 now. Bret has 2, Riley and Ryder, that we spend every day with. And then my daughter Morgan has Cooper, and we call him Koopaloo. But 2 one-year-old boys and 1 4-year-old granddaughter. So awesome. That is our life now.
Okay, so that is Peggy in a nutshell. And for everyone out there, I met both of them by way of Facebook. I was just, everybody know I'm doing these podcasts, and I was like, you know what? I want a voice for the men. I want men to come on and share their stories. I want all men to come on and share their stories if they have a story about breast cancer. And at first it was a little challenging. And I was like, you know what? There's got to be somewhere out there in social media and internet world. There's got to be a male out there. And I ended up searching just certain wording, and his name popped up like everywhere. It was like, once I opened the floodgates, all his articles popped up, everything. And I was like, you know what? All they can tell me is no, but I'm gonna give it a shot anyway. And I met Peggy first, and she has been, we always call each other family now. Like, she's just been such a blessing far as just sharing information, and at any time of night, like, she's always available. And from there I met Bret, and it's been wonderful meeting both of you. So Bret, prior to breast cancer, I heard you say you were very active. So I kind of want you to describe, if you want to, a little bit more about what exactly was going on, like, before you found it, or before you found whatever symptoms you had. Like, how was life? Like, how outgoing was it? And then lead us up to the point of, what you discovered, what symptoms you were having.
Yeah. Well, so when I first found my lump, it was right before I was going into senior year of high school. It was directly below under my right nipple. And I remember it was at home just watching TV, and I kind of did one of these. I was sitting in the chair and just kind of did this like a little stretch back and a little scratch like this, and then it was kind of like, wait, that's weird, you know.
Mhm.
And so I had to get a physical before the school year started to play football. So I was kind of a typical active, high schooler, playing
Right.
sports, going to school, hanging out with friends, and just being social. And so I went to go get a physical for football, and brought it up to a doctor during the physical. And they were just kind of like, you're 17, you're going through puberty, it could be calcium buildup. It's, it'll probably dissipate and go away. It's nothing to worry about. So I go out through entire year, senior year, with the lump, have to go get some shots and a checkup following senior year for college,
Mhm.
vaccinations and stuff. So I did that, and I still brought it up to, it was a different doctor, and I brought it up to that doctor at that point, and they kind of said the same thing, a little change and stuff, but they're, you're young, it's probably calcium buildup, it's nothing to worry about. It'll dissipate, go away. So this is like 2003, 2004 when this is going on. So I'm not thinking much of it. I'm just,
Right.
you're hearing it from doctors, so you trust doctor. You try to trust doctors as much as you can, because they're practicing, they're learning medicine. You
Mhm.
don't have an experience, any expertise in it, so you're just going to take their word for it. Fast forward roughly 7 years from my first, initial finding of the lump. I was 24, and I'd finished college about a year and a half prior, and been at the country club that I'm still currently at for.
Mhm.
Well, I started there in 2001 when I was 15, but I took over managing once I graduated college in 2008.
Mhm.
So I had been there for about a year and a half, with health insurance and everything, just working and
Right.
hanging out by the pool and hanging out
Mhm.
with friends after work and doing all that. And my parents, both were had asked, like, do you still have that lump? And I was like, well, yeah. And they go, when was the last time you went for a physical? And I was like, before college. Everybody always asks, well, why did it take so long? Well, my parents are self-employed, so health insurance, even now as it was way back then,
Right.
is ridiculously expensive, especially for self-employed. So once I turned 18, the state health insurance and everything that went away,
Mhm.
and it was just something that I was told that it was a calcium buildup, it just didn't go away. So I never felt sick. I never, besides the lump, I didn't have any major symptoms that I knew of that were related to breast
Right.
cancer. Until, honestly, until I was officially diagnosed, then I was like, oh, well, yeah, that's a major one. So one thing I don't tell everybody, right off the bat, is that about a year and a half to 2 years, give or take,
Mhm.
um, I would have a discharge from my nipple,
Mhm.
yellow,
Mhm.
orangish discharge, sometimes red, bloody, whatever. But all I'm thinking is like, oh, it's the calcium buildup dissipating and going away. But,
Mm.
because of the poor awareness for men, everything is always directed towards women. So men don't think that it's possible. So they just brush it off and don't think of anything. But upon diagnosis, kind of going down the deep, dark rabbit
Right.
hole, this and that for breast cancer in men and everything. Number one is a lump, and number two is a discharge from your nipple. And then it goes into the other symptoms of like a dimpling, a rash,
Right.
whatever. And I'm like, man, I really wish that there would have been a little more awareness in talking about this, for men to be
Right.
a little more aware that, hey, it could happen. It is very rare, but it could still happen. So had I known that, I would have gone to the doctors a lot sooner.
So when did the discharge actually happen? Like what age would you say that you noticed the discharge once you found out that was a
20,
symptom?
22, I would probably put it at the like
Mhm.
senior year of college.
Okay, so 17, you just had the lump up until the senior year, and that's when you start having discharge that you didn't realize was associated.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Right.
there's, like I said, there's no,
Right.
we're getting better. But even when I was diagnosed in 2010, there was, we contacted two of the major foundations that you would think that would help
Mhm.
people with breast cancer. Doesn't matter if they're male or female, young or old or whatever. But we were essentially told, no, they only focus on women.
Right.
And that was
Okay.
it.
And so you felt, now how big was the lump also that I want to,
They say, I can't remember the centimeters.
no, when you first felt it, like, what did it feel like? Did it feel like a little rock or
Size of a pea.
like a kidney bean-ish or whatnot. I think at the biggest it ever felt was like a lima bean, so not too much of a difference in size really. And they always say that I got extremely lucky on the size of it and the actual diagnosis of it. So
yeah, and the reason why I asked you that is because number one, the reason why I asked about the discharge, because I don't want people to think, oh, okay, well, he had a lump then, but it didn't mean, you know, did he really have the breast cancer then? And who knows, you may or may not, you never know.
Yeah, the doctors don't, they're like,
yeah,
we're not sure if it was always cancerous or at some point then.
Right, or it turned into it later or whatever. But it's good to know it, kind of like the gate, because there's probably somebody sitting out there right now who's had a lump. That's a male. That I know one person in particular, he has a lump, and I know two people, and one in particular got a really small one, and he was just like, "Oh, it's fine." I'm like, "No, you need to go get that checked."
Get it checked.
It could be nothing, but you got to get it checked.
Right.
Any lumps, you've got to get it checked.
And that's the other reason why I asked about the size, because as women, even we're like, oh, maybe it's a cyst, or maybe, you know, maybe it's just, I don't know, abscess or whatever. But size to me doesn't matter. It could be so tiny. So I'm thankful that you shared like specific size of what you thought it felt like, because I don't want anybody thinking, well, maybe it was recognizable. No, it was like a pea, like you said, a little like a pea or a kidney bean. So so before we go more into like his treatment and stuff, Peggy, what was this like for you as a mom? Like, what was life for you before he ended up having, you know, before he even came to you about a lump? Like, how was life going for you? And then at the point of him telling you?
Actually, very well. My husband and myself, we've owned our own business. We rent margarita machines, frozen drink machines. We take to people's homes for parties, and we do mobile DJing, and I do video production. So always busy, always involved in everything, making memory videos and things like that. So I always said God all my life has been preparing me for this by teaching me. I've self-taught how to do video work, video production, never went to school for it. But he knew what he was going to give our family. And some people may say it was a curse. I say it was a blessing. He was teaching us that if this happens to us, even my son at this age, a discharge that most men have no clue what it means.
Right.
If a man goes for physical still today, doctors do not check their breasts. So I tell all men, if you're there and you finally went for a physical, ask the doctor to check your breasts, just like they do women.
Right.
We have a website, breastselfexams.org. where we partner with HCA Midwest hospitals, that you can go and look at the videos of a doctor showing Bret how to do a breast self-exam, plus Bret showing in a mirror how to do it for yourself.
Right.
This is so important for people, not man, not woman, people.
Right.
If you have breasts, they need to be checked monthly. You find something strange, you'd rather be safe than sorry. Because the men that have waited, those men aren't here to talk about it.
Right.
You know, so that's my motto. That's what I live by today. And again, like I say, God's got a mission. It needs to continue to be told. We can't do it alone. I live by the hashtag, together we will change the world, because it takes you, me, Bret, anybody that hears about breast cancer is talk about it. Family, friends, everybody, bring up the subject, because, you know, most men don't think it's an issue.
So was there any, I know, because I think we talked one time before and you were talking about like family history. So before he even came to you about the lump, you already had a family history of actual, so you were aware that.
Totally aware. I have over
cancer in the family.
15, Bret is a breast cancer survivor.
Aware of breast cancer and breast cancer.
Right.
Yeah.
Not aware of men and breast cancer.
Right.
Well, not until Bret got it, but I had over 15 women cousins, all with breast cancer. We do not carry any mutation that they know of, have discovered yet. no BRCA, no nothing in our family, but I have first cousins, aunts, all with breast cancer. A lot haven't made it. And so we do know there's some sort of mutation running through our family that is yet to be discovered.
So when you had that thought that, okay, people in my family have breast cancer,
Right.
and then he comes to you and said, hey, I got a lump. How did you feel as a mother? Like,
as a mom, he's telling his dad and I at the same time. His dad's going, don't worry about it. I think I've had him, you know. And I'm looking in my mind and I'm going, oh my God, is this one of those lumps they tell us women to look for?
Wow.
And I looked at him, but because I'm the overreactor, as the family says.
You mean the hypochondriac in the family? Yeah.
That checks everything. And once you have kids, you will. Brett knows he has 2 children now. He doesn't let it go. I wanted to get his butt to a doctor as soon as possible.
Okay.
And we worked on that throughout the time. He told his dad about the discharge, but he never told me. If he would have told, if he would have told a woman about discharge, I'd have had his butt. I'd driven him, and I don't drive a lot. I'd have driven him to the doctor myself to get it done because, and he goes, no way. But no, in reality, people need to know anything that is different with your breasts. Be safe, not sorry.
Yeah.
Go get it checked out. It's
Absolutely.
just a damn doctor's appointment, people.
Right.
And let the doctor tell you no. And guess what? We had many doctors told us no. Told us it was nothing.
So
but in your own heart, if you think it is,
Mhm.
get another opinion.
Just
You're
keep on
entitled
going.
to it.
That's right. So, and now, thank goodness, they're more aware of men, of course, and then also they're opening up the doors more for more scans and things of that nature, which is so good. We just got to push the fact of do these self-exams for young men, you know, teach it like they teach us as young girls. So Bret, at the point, when did you, all right, so bring us to, you're going to the doctor, you actually found one that really is going to do further testing. Walk us through that. Like, what did that look like for you?
Well, so I set up a physical exam at a men's clinic, you know, just specialized in men's health and everything. And so I go there and I go through the physical, and you know, they do the blood work, they, you know, check your body, they do this, they look and everything, what they do for a physical. And the doctor's like, well, you know, everything looks great. You know, we'll call you back in the next, you know, in the week once we get the results from just the blood, you know, blood test, just in general blood test. It wasn't like looking for cancer because I hadn't yet said anything about a lump yet. But and he was like, he goes, other than that, you know, if you don't have anything, then you know, this will be done. And it was kind of like, there was a little hesitation on my part and everything, but he was almost kind of out the door or at the door and everything. And I go, well, you know, my parents would kill me if I didn't say anything about it and stuff, but I've had this lump underneath my right nipple for, you know, some time now. And, you know, we're all kind of curious to know if it's anything, because I was always told that it was something. I mean, I think the second I said lump, breast, so on, whatever. I mean, he closed the door and turned right back around and he was like, let's see. And so lifted up my shirt and kind of looked at it and felt it and everything, and immediately said, okay, well, let's set you up for an ultrasound. You know, so I knew the place that I was going. He was just like, it'd be right down the road actually from where I was at. I was like, okay. So it was a couple of days later, went to go do that. I walked into the place that said the imaging center and everything, and they're like, oh no, you're in the wrong place. This is just for like MRIs. You're in the building back behind us, and it's, you know, Suite 200, which I walk up to, and I'm like, is this a joke? Because Suite 200 is the women's clinic. Right. You know, it's not, nobody's said anything the entire time. Not one person has said anything about women's clinic, breast cancer, anything related to it. So I like opened up the door and I was like, am I in the right place? And they're like, Bret Miller. And I go, yeah. I mean, how many women get actually greeted at the women's clinic, you know, by name? So I was like, yeah, what gave it away? You know, and so I had to they handed me the form to fill out, which we push hard, and we've got quite a few hospitals in our area, in our region, everything have changed, and a lot other ones have changed too, to more either gender specific or gender neutral questionnaires. But my questionnaire that I had to fill out was insurance information, address, women's last menstrual cycle, are you pregnant? that was all the, all the questions for women. I was
Mhm.
like, I don't know that I can really answer many more of these questions.
Right.
But it was, I got taken to the back, and I got shuffled in and out of rooms, because it was during the day, so there were other women
Mhm.
there. So it wasn't like I was
Oh,
scheduled
that's right. Yeah. I
in the
forgot about
beginning,
that.
in the end, or whatnot, but I was getting shuffled in and out of rooms just to make sure that there weren't any women, which I understand, but
Mhm.
it doesn't feel comfortable being like, okay, well, no, gotta wait here. Oh, gotta wait, oh, go back in. Um, so they do the ultrasound, and the nurse is doing the tech is doing the ultrasound and stuff, and then the doctor comes in just to assure that the scans that were requested are are there. So
Mhm.
she comes in, she looks at it, and she's like, monitor me, back and forth a little bit, and she goes, you know what, let's go do a mammogram real quick. It's just right down the hall. Then you don't have to like take more time off work and come back and all this other stuff. And I tell every time I say that to everybody, I'm like, she knew that
Mhm.
something was wrong, but she
Mhm.
wasn't my actual doctor, so she couldn't say anything.
Right.
Like she couldn't say anything. So I was like, she goes, let's go get a mammogram. I looked at her and I go, is that physically possible? I mean, I'm just like, wait, what? I have to go do a what now? I mean, it is. There are small-breasted women.
Right.
So
There are. Yeah.
I feel your pain. It was not the funnest
Mhm.
experience I've ever had. Um, but they did a mammogram, and it ends up being the better scan of between that and the ultrasound.
Okay.
So I'm thankful for it, but it's still, the scans go to the doctor. The doctor sets up with the general surgeon to have a consult. The general surgeon is just saying, yeah, based on the scans and what you've told me and stuff, it's probably still just calcium buildup, but the time that you've had it, I'd like to do the surgery and just take the lump out, just remove the lump, and that's it. I don't recall at any point, and I don't think my mom remembers at any point, that the doctor at any point during that, even with that consult of just saying that, hey, I just want to take the lump out, saying breast cancer at all. And so I do the surgery, they remove the lump, they just cut under the bottom half of the nipple, remove the lump. It's like an hour and a half surgery that they still put me under, but I went back to the work the next day, acting like nothing was wrong. And then it was upon leaving work at the country club to go bartend downtown when I was, that the doctor called me, told me that the preliminary pathology reports, which, like I said, don't remember them saying, they could have said something when I was coming out of anesthesia,
Right.
but they still sent it off to pathology. But the preliminary pathology reports are saying that it's breast cancer. I haven't fully read the report, but I'll read it and get back to you in 3 to 5 days.
Mhm.
That's what
So
the
you
doctor.
never
That's what
had
the doctor told me.
so you never even had though about backing it all the way up, because usually our
No, yeah, no needle biopsy or
yeah.
anything like that.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No,
I mean, still, thank goodness they took it out though.
yeah,
But
and that doctor that we had, we switched immediately after that.
Yeah.
The guy was
So
just not ethical. I'm sorry.
so what it was, yeah.
okay.
So his bedside manner was absolutely horrible. But it was, I signed all HIPAA forms and everything that he
Mhm.
could communicate to my parents just as much as
Everything.
communicating to me, doing whatever, just because there's a lot going on. I'm busy working and everything, and I'm 24, so
You're young.
the
Yeah.
last thing that's on my mind really at the time is my health kind of thing. I'm just having
Especially
fun.
breast cancer. Like, I mean,
Exactly.
young.
So I
Yeah.
sign all of that and everything, and so he calls me, tells me that it's breast cancer, and then pretty much that's it, and kind of hangs up the phone, and I'm kind of like sitting there. I was like, wow,
Wow.
what? So I called my dad and let my dad know. I'm like, hey, I'm heading down to work. It's gonna be busy. I don't have time to answer mom's questions because I know she's gonna ask 1,000 questions. I have no answers to any of them.
Right.
So once I get off work, I'll be home and stuff. We can discuss then. 5 minutes go by, and she's calling me. I go,
I
I
knew.
text him. I go, gee, Dad, thanks for holding out that one. He goes,
Yeah.
I tried. He goes, I turned around. We're in the same office and stuff. I turn around and she sees it on my face.
Mother's intuition.
Absolutely.
I knew.
It's
I
a
knew
wrap.
But
from the
it's
day you
still,
showed me the lump.
it was still the better thing because she didn't hold back at all.
Mm-mm.
And she
Right.
called that doctor, and we were actually in his office the next day. She's like, I don't care what you have. We're I mean, we essentially showed up. We showed up to him, and he was like, okay, so I skimmed through a little more and stuff, and he goes, the baseline on what we do for men right now. It's a double mastectomy. That's all we're doing. That's what we'll do, and there's no questions about it.
Okay. So this was the breast surgeon?
Yeah, the surgeon that removed the lump.
first
We went
guy.
back to
Okay.
him because he was the
I just
one.
want to make for sure, because I was
Yeah.
like, okay, is that the radiologist? So it was the actual breast surgeon.
Yeah.
Had this conversation with you on the
What-
phone and didn't even set up a consultation to follow up.
No, he was
3
gonna a
to
couple
5
weeks. Yeah.
3 to 5
Yeah.
days is when he would get back to set things up.
But
Yeah.
just leaving you with,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
just
breast cancer.
leaving us out hanging, and I knew a couple of the doctors that were very
Mhm.
good, close, that their kids went to the same high school, all the kids went to. So I
Mhm.
reached out to them too, and he said, just get all Brett's medical records, and I'll see you within the next day. And that's how we switched.
because
doctors.
I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, as a woman, it's already traumatizing. I can't even imagine as a man, and being that you were in your 20s and you have
Yes.
to go, first of all, to a women's mammogram breast center. That's traumatized. I mean, and the
What
paper,
after going through it, I totally understand, because
Yeah.
a general clinic's probably more than likely not going to have it. A men's clinic's not going to have $100,000 plus machines,
right?
you know, the one-offs that come through. I totally get it. I just wish that I would have like a little heads up, like, hey,
No,
you've got to go do this, but you've got to go here to do it. Not one person said it. They just said you have to go get some scans.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's all. People may not understand how like the mind works. Like that all can play into like a traumatic experience, especially for a young male who, yeah, this is supposed to be, you know, women usually has this, and
Right.
I have to go here, and no one's telling me, oh, hey, look, by the way, it's like you said, it's going to be at a women's clinic. Be prepared. You know, they may switch you from room to room, or the people there should have kind of guided you. Like, this is, even if they would have said, hey, look, this is new to us, so we're going to do the best we can.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
You know, to try to make it comfortable for you. But I understand that form, and I understand it from a different perspective, but kind of same way. And I'm gonna tell you what happened to me. So I have a double mastectomy flat, as you both know, and I go in for MRI, and they just read my paperwork, and they said, oh, well, take off your bra, and it also says history. It says all this before you have a conversation with me. And they didn't even look at it at all, because they asked me about my last period. I don't have periods anymore. They asked me about your bra. Do you have a bra on? I have no breasts. Like, did you read anything? Like, while I'm here for me? And so it can make you angry, kind of, because even when I used to work in the medical field, I used to tell people, like, be sensitive, read the paperwork before you even read whatever you have before you approach the patient. And if you offend them in some way and didn't mean to, apologize and say,
Very
this
true.
is why, I didn't know,
like you said,
or
read
something.
the paperwork. You asked me to fill out 15 pages of paperwork that take 30 minutes, that delay my appointment even longer and stuff. At least have the courtesy to read what I just answered everything.
Yeah. And it's it's a very uncomfortable feeling. So you find a different doctor, obviously, because I know
Right.
Mama over here.
Yeah, we
what
essentially
happened.
go, thank you for your time, but we feel like we need to get a second opinion.
Absolutely.
And didn't do that. And like my mom said, she reached out to a few people. So I was the hospital I was at was St. Joseph Medical Center.
Okay.
The nurse navigators there were absolutely phenomenal. And they even asked me, they're like, hey, we will only share out what your age is, your sex, and the diagnosis, and that's it. But we have these a lot of the top doctors around the area have these like roundtables like once a month. And it's actually coming up really soon. Would you be okay if we shared your case? And I go, I mean,
Absolutely.
I don't care if you put my name out there or not.
Yeah.
If anything's going to help try to find the answers to it, because everybody goes, well, what was your mindset after you got that diagnosis? And I was like, well, they got the lump, they got the cancer, so that's out of my body right now. I guess we'll just see what's next. Like, so I was just like trying to, prep myself for, hey, there's nothing, it's just, let's just see what the answers are, or, what may come next. So they shared it out. We got set up with a general surgeon, that, I mean, like I said, general surgeon, but had a focus more in breast cancer.
Right.
And he had actually performed a mastectomy on 12 men prior to.
Brett was his
wow.
13th. Yeah.
So I was I was the 13th male that he'd done it for. So I was like, okay, there's this, because the previous
Yeah.
surgeon had like very little experience in mastectomies and absolutely none on men. So
Right.
that was another reason I was like, well, I'm not going to be your first one to, chop up.
Experiment with, and
Yeah,
you're not being very nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're just rude as hell. So
Yeah.
What did he check your, backing up to the first doctor, did he even check your lymph nodes?
no, I mean there was no, I
No
didn't have any
self-exam.
lymph nodes checked until my mastectomy.
Okay, so I was just wondering, because I mean, like, since, okay, so you get this doctor, so then obviously you go through a mastectomy, you go through a double?
Yeah. So, well, no, only a single.
Or
So
just a mastectomy?
it was in meeting with this doctor, and I don't think we were there for even an hour, but in talking with him, he, he explained everything. He explained what we were going to do. He understood that with work wise that it was for the pool, it was becoming a very busy part of the season. And if I know I had to do something now, I had to do at least the mastectomy on the right side. But even he said that it would be double mastectomy, but I could come back and do the other side, in a couple months, get through the busy part and everything. So where I can take time off and make it easier on myself. And I was like, okay, that's reassuring. And he was like, I can also, if you want me to, I can try to reach out to some of the men that I've performed the surgery on before and see if they're willing to talk to you and answer any questions. Because, but I'm going to be honest, a lot of them took time off work, did their surgery, recovered, and went back to work like nothing ever happened. Like, they don't speak.
They don't talk.
And it was in talking to that my surgeon that performed the mastectomy, and him saying, if you're, with your age and just our interaction right here, I feel like if you are willing to share your story, you can help make an impact to help others.
To change the world. Yeah. We were all in that appointment.
And I took that in, I thought about it and everything. And then, we set up geneticists, oncologists and everything already. Right. And then I was like, I would like to talk to like a plastic surgeon because, like I said, I work at a pool. I go out a lot. I hang out at pools with friends and everything. And, all I can see online right now is that I'm going to have my nipple taken away, breast, it's going to be flat, it's going to be, caved in and all this stuff. So we did set up with a plastic surgeon, and one of the top ones in the region, brother of a good friend of the family and everything too. And in talking to him, he was just like, I haven't done a reconstructive on a male before. He goes, I'm not saying I can't do it. And I was like, I have confidence, but I hear a lot of good things from him and stuff. But he goes, it would take a little bit of, time and research to, know exactly what I needed to do to make it right. Cause I don't want to do this and, mess it up and everything. And he goes, well, give me some time and we'll get, I'll get back to you and stuff. And I was like, okay. So, but after I left that meeting with that plastic surgeon is when I was like, I don't want to be a guinea pig, a test subject for somebody for the very first time. Like, I know there are many out there that do that, but I was like, that's just not me. And at that point is when I decided that I will share my story out. I'm not getting reconstructive. And the scar is the only way that I feel that people are going to believe me as a male that I have breast cancer. Because if I don't have the scar and I have reconstructive and then I have the nipple tattooed back on and whatever else, I could say that I'm a breast cancer patient. Some people are going to be like, yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe, even like I still felt on one of the very first races I went to during chemo treatment and stuff. I went to go sign in, check in as a survivor. I paid the fee and all that stuff. Went to go check in. I kind of got this look like, huh? And
they didn't even.
I go, Bret Miller, breast cancer survivor. And I just lifted up my shirt, showed them the scar and everything. And they go, oh, okay, sorry. Okay. They just kind of handed the stuff and I'm kind of like, disappeared there. They like wanted to switch out.
Like, let me hurry up and leave.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I was just like, I go, I'm not trying to I don't want to, shame anybody, but I feel shame because I say that, I'm saying a breast cancer survivor out of a male and people are like, that's not possible.
Yeah.
Right. But you shouldn't have to lift up your shirt. We don't have to lift up our shirt.
No, but
show our chemo scar,
because you're a woman who has breast cancer and somebody goes immediately that way. But I'm a male and the awareness is not there. And that's what we've been trying to change.
Yeah, and that's what I say
13 years now is to get it. It's not a male's disease, it's not a female's disease, it's a people's disease. And if I say that I have breast cancer, I shouldn't have to prove it because the awareness isn't there. Everything says women, everything is pink, and rightfully so. And I'm not trying to take that away.
Right.
All I'm asking is that anytime there is an advertisement or anything about breast cancer, it's either you say women and men, or you just say a person, people.
Right.
We brought them a long way. There's a lot of changing to the word people.
Right.
I'm saying that the day of Bret's surgery, because of our friendship with the plastic surgeon, and his sister is a newscaster, she said, "Is there any way I could be at the hospital?" I said, "Absolutely." And we got 2 news stations covering the whole thing, even in the surgery while they were doing the mastectomy. So we got all that footage. Me as a videographer, oh my God, as a mom, I loved it. I filmed everything. I had my camera there. And to know that that footage is still there to show proof to men, it's not to be embarrassed, it's to talk about. Every one person you tell, you just might save that person's life, male, female, whatever, because they've become aware that their breasts can get cancer.
Yeah.
As men, we try to find excuses to tell ourselves to not go to the hospital, to not go to the doctor, to push it off until it's really bad. And that's just, I mean, and that's associated to society as well, because what do you get told? What's your grandparents? What's your dad? What's everybody say? Oh, throw some dirt on it, walk it off, you'll be fine. Like, man up and deal with it. Well,
be a strong man.
Things are changing. Yeah, be a strong man. Things are changing, and everybody's mental state really needs to be factored in as well. That okay, this feels different. You're your own best advocate for your body. If something feels off, lump, whatever, anywhere, go to a doctor. And if they say nothing, but you still have that mentality that something's there and stuff, go to the second, third, fourth opinion, whatever it is to make yourself at ease, because it's your body, you know it best. Doctors are only going to tell you what they know, and that's that.
Yeah, you're the only one that lives in there.
Right. So. And that's why when I was making the flyer, I was very specific with the coloring, because it needs to be out there. Like, I didn't want you, it's like, okay, you all do have a ribbon, and this is what this looks like. And I want people to see it for what it is, even though, yes, it's a podcast, but it's about breast cancer. It's about all cancers, but I was very intentional with the coloring of that flyer, and to make sure that you all.
Bret, why did you design your ribbon this way?
Well, because we looked it up, and at the very beginning, a ribbon for male breast cancer, and this is 2010, was like a dark blue ribbon with the male symbol on it. That was it. And then and then we started seeing other ones like evolve, adding the pink and the blue in it, like different splashes here, whatever. I know that I've seen multiple ribbons, same colors can mean different things. But I think blue on top of the pink represents like premature babies, and other stuff with young babies and everything. But I think it can even be flipped as well with the double ribbon and stuff. But I've always stuck with the pink on top and the blue behind, because it is a female dominant disease. More women are going to get diagnosed than men, but men are second behind, because we can get diagnosed, but a lot of times men are the caregivers supporting, backing up the women. So that's why they're back behind. That's why it's the pink on top of the blue. That's why I chose it that way.
That's why you chose it.
Others can do their own thing, whichever it is, but that was my reasoning and why I got the big tattoo on my side for.
Show it to her, because he didn't do it. Just show him the tattoo, because I'm not pro for tattoos. I don't like them. But this one I love.
So
that's nice.
Just kind of went with it. Everybody asked about the handprints. Well, at the very beginning, we started with checkthem.org. And the shirts had to say, guys, with the handprints, don't be afraid to touch yourself. Just to try to have that little shock value and to have a little humor in it, because I found that humor helped everybody get through. If you can make life, if me going through it can make light of the situation and joke around about it, it made it easier for everybody else around you to then go, oh, well, it's serious, but he's having some fun with it. So it makes it easier, like for me to ask him a question like, how's everything going, without being like, oh, it's great, I'm just going through cancer. It's just, I made light of the situation to make it easier for everybody else. and more comfortable for everybody else. It made it more comfortable for me too. And I still try to crack jokes as much as I can.
Yeah. So you go through, you get the operation. So what diagnosis did they really give you? And what was the treatment plan? What else did you have to go through?
Paperwork still says that it, even though like the size wasn't that, it was, I think they said that because of the size of the lump, it was the only reason why they classified it as stage 1, but it was still ductal carcinoma in situ, which I know a lot of times now people just get diagnosed at stage 0 with it. So, but at the time, like my paperwork says stage 1, so it was like it's borderline 0 to 1. And I got, like I tell everybody, everybody's cancer is different, and I got extremely lucky. That's the only thing I've been lucky on.
It was a miracle.
I tried Powerball, making millions. I'm sorry, I still didn't win yet. Luck stops there, but I got extremely lucky, and everybody's case is different. I didn't have any lymph nodes that were affected by it, so they did the sentinel node biopsy, and it did not spread through lymph nodes. So the only area that was taken out was the 1-inch margins around the nipple and the lymph nodes around that area. They did not have to go up into my armpit or my arm or anything else. It did not spread. So I got extremely lucky. The surgeon apparently told my mom before the surgery. I didn't know about it until like almost 2 days later when she finally told me that he pulled her aside. And he goes, just so you know, I'm going to prepare you for the worst, because the amount of time that he's had this lump, it could be everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And that it would be metastatic, and that there's not going to be much they can do for them. And so I'm the only one that knows this, and I did not share with my husband, Bret, nobody, because I'm just saying, God, take this and fly with this. Make this kid whatever you put him on this earth to do. He'll do it. And as a mom, I promise I will back it up. But keep him well. He has his whole life ahead of him. And I don't want this cancer to take him down. And 13 years later, God's showing us the way every single moment of every single day.
So from what point how long did you have to hold that secret in? Like, how long was it from the time you heard that conversation? Was it just the day of surgery?
After the second day in your recovery, once you were in recovery, I finally said to him, I said, we've got good news, because it's nowhere. But Dr. McCroskey really thought it was everywhere, and he prepared me for the worst. And it was just crazy, because, and we, like I say, a lot of the footage on our YouTube channel way back in where it's dated 2010, you can watch the doctor talking to him and everything else, because they allowed us to have the video cameras plus both TV stations in there, and we're actually there for a surgery, because globally back then, men weren't even talked about. So it was like big
we looked
news.
at it at the time of my diagnosis. There was one other male at the age of 24 in Europe diagnosed, and I believe he was metastatic.
He passed away.
And that was so at the time I was the youngest diagnosed in the United States.
And I think so he still holds literally that designation that he's still the youngest. I don't think any of the others have been younger than you. They've been in the 24, 25 range.
21. We had the 21. We have the guy that's 21.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's right.
So the only treatment you had was the double mastectomy. I mean, the mastectomy.
Single mastectomy. So the morning of my surgery as well, my surgeon gets a call from his friends at Johns Hopkins and MD Anderson saying, do not treat men as women, because that's the way they were for a little while. So he reached out to some of his friends at some of the other top cancer centers, and they said, do not treat it men as just as women, only do a single mastectomy
right now, and we'll decide.
So I did. So I got lucky. I only had the single mastectomy. And then they sent they had also sent the tumor off to for
Oncotype DX.
A test called Oncotype DX.
Yeah,
right.
And they said and tested that, and they said that came back as, if I chose to do chemotherapy, then it could reduce 4 ounces of chemotherapy followed up by the 5 years of the Arimidex or tamoxifen, that it could reduce the chances of any cancer coming back over a 10-year period by 10%. Right. And the test also tells you that you could have, based on all these factors and the data that we have, it said that I had a 22% chance of cancer coming back over a 10-year period. So I'm just like, I'm thinking, whatever I can do to get that number closer to zero, I'm going to do. I was like, I feel young. I don't feel sick. And never at any point did I ever feel like, oh, well, this is making my body hurt.
Right.
This, no, it didn't. So that's why I opted to do the chemotherapy.
He was one of the first
chemotherapy that kind of pissed me off the most, because it was after the second treatment is when my hair started falling out. And that's when like I said, I still never felt sick. I still didn't, a long time, but doing the chemo, that's when the hair fell out and everything. And that's when I looked sick. And that's what pissed me off, because everybody was like, oh my God, are you okay?
Yeah.
What's going on? And then I had to explain. I'm like, no, I'm fine. Like, I literally, yes, I'm going through chemo, but the entire time through chemo, I never had any nauseousness. I was never down. I was never out. I took the days off work just to take the days off work because they gave them to me.
Right.
But the only thing that I had during it was body aches, because I forgot to take the steroid pills that they give me.
Yeah.
I lost
And on the Oncotype DX, he was one of the first males that they ever did the test on for proof of breast cancer. So
he diagnosed you had DCIS, but they treated you as you had stage 1. So is that why they let you do the chemo? Because DCIS for women, we don't get it's not treated with chemo.
Yes,
right
now, because there's a lot more research. In 2010,
back then it wasn't.
Yeah, there wasn't.
They didn't know,
and they still don't have enough research for men. Now they have some, because of things that we've been doing and other men that we've actually gotten speaking out and everything. But in 2010, it was like, hey, we've got this research for women and yours is very similar to theirs. So, hey, it worked for them. We should try it out on you. That's literally how every man felt when they got diagnosed.
Well, and it was, because the clinical trials now are done. They come to us a lot to have our men do their clinical trials and surveys monthly.
That is so interesting. Yeah, because when you said DC, because that was my diagnosis.
Yeah.
My doctor was like, yeah, if anyone was to ever give you chemo, they're over treating you. So when you said it, I was like, wait, but I understand what you're saying now. It's like you were male, they didn't know really what to do.
This is 13 years ago now. So the treatments, they've come a long way, but at that point this is the way you treat, and there's no change in it right now. I think it was probably within like 2 or 3 years tops that they had already started changing treatments for men.
So what about okay, so we get the stage. So you were considered stage 0, but they classify you as stage 1. That's what I'm hearing, because stage 0 is
right. 0-1. Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, I'm doing based on what the paperwork says. Stage 1,
and that's fine. So then the other part is, what was your like hormone receptors? Did they talk about that, like ER, PR positive, negatives, anything? Did they say?
They probably said that I always
ER negative. I thought,
but it was they said that the cancer was like 88% estrogen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what it was.
Okay. So you estrogen positive.
Yeah. And since I'm so high risk,
horrible when it comes to that. I know. Like, I don't know. There's ER positive, negative, HER2, triple negative. I'm like,
it's a lot. It is a lot. It's really a lot.
Yeah.
And I always just want to pull the chemo brain card because I don't remember something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm so high risk. They've got me literally on a Arimidex. I've been on it for 3 years, 2 more years or 5 years, because I had 2 lumpectomies since 95 and then in 2001. But thank God none of them were cancer.
Right.
So, so there's no proof. I'm like a guinea pig to them. They say you're high risk. You've got so many family members with breast cancer. You got a son with breast cancer. Bottom line, you're going to get it. It may not, I'm 70 now. And they said age 70 and up is when it's going to show up on me unless I take precautions. So what is it for me it may not, but I'm taking this one damn pill that might stop it. Yeah, I'm going to do it.
I don't blame you.
It's not hurting me at all.
So are you on tamoxifen now, Bret?
I'm on a Arimidex.
You're on a Arimidex.
Yeah, and he's off it.
I was on tamoxifen for like a month or 2 tops, and then I got all the hot flashes and all the side effects there was, and I was like, I don't like this at all. My mom said mood swings. It was really just horrible. Because it was the reactions to her nagging. But No, the doctors, they switched me off of tamoxifen. They put me on a Arimidex,
Damn,
Okay.
anastrozole.
yeah, it's the same pill, 1
Yeah.
milligram. Yeah.
And honest, I know, I think there were 10 milligram ones, but it felt like me, like I was just taking like a vitamin. I didn't have
Yeah.
I didn't feel any different side effects from them.
20 milligrams. Yeah.
And how long were you on that? Or are you still on it?
I did the 5 years. I think it was done I think I was done officially like late 16, early
Yeah,
17.
2016 you were. They took
So what is your surveillance now? Like, what does that look like for you now? Like, what are they doing?
every 6 months we go.
No. Well, yes. we
yeah,
go
with
to do-
Amy
we go
Patel.
do that scan because of a different doctor, but my oncologist, he was, once I crossed the 10-year mark, he was like, I kept it up for 2 years. I'm probably going to cancel his appointment coming up just because every time I've gone, they've done the blood work and he's like, everything comes back great. He goes, we're past that 10-year mark. So we've made some great progress and everything. He goes, you can still keep coming back if you want. You can just go to primary care. There's another doctor here in the area that really focuses on breast cancer, and she's helped out our organization quite a bit. So
she's top radiologist in globally.
Doing 4 mammograms, just focusing on that. They did a 3D
mammogram.
No, the 3D MRI. They did the 3D MRI, what it was.
No, they didn't do that. No, 3D.
They did that once. I did once. You couldn't do it. I had to.
Yeah, you had to do it, but they're not. This year we're setting up, and I just talked to them today. I'm going to do the ultrasound. They'll check me at the same time, and then he is going to do the 3D mammogram. They're going to do it on him.
I'm still doing. I'm opting to do mammograms, but I've been told that if I wanted to, I could opt out, and not do anything.
Right. But they're also, both of us are being studied.
Yeah.
Being part of her study that she's been doing, and Dr. Patel's the one that just got the state of Missouri that they have to pay for all diagnostic testing and they cannot discriminate against you. And she's the one working on all the different states to be part of this, where they cannot deny diagnostic testing for breast cancer patients. And it's Dr. Amy Patel. She was up for the NFL
fan of the year.
Of the year. She didn't get it, came in second, but you will have seen her if you watched any of the football games globally and stuff like that. She's that one, and she is a go-getter, and she's on our advisory board. She will answer any questions and help us in any way we need.
Wow.
For men or women. So don't ever hesitate if you have something you need to get answered, and she can help on her side of it as a radiologist. She will do it. She's dynamic.
Wow. So you're still, both of y'all, obviously, because I know you're being studied, Peggy, because your family history. And then, that was the question I was going to ask. So I know you're being studied, and so that's kind of like your surveillance, I guess.
Right.
But
exactly.
at the same time, you don't have a genetic mutation that they found. However, ever so many years, you're supposed to go back. So does she have something in the works for you to come back?
We already did. We did genetic testing with it last year or 2020. We redid it. They still couldn't come out. And we're working with Myriad and them. And what's the other? There's 2 different genetic testing companies we're working with because they're studying our deal. But they finally came back from this last test and said they think the mutation and that they almost have discovered what mutation might be running through our family from my last test, but they're still studying it.
Yeah, they don't have it pinpointed, but they do have some outlier genes that they are unsure of, and they're still working towards mapping, but they believe that there's still something there for.
Yeah, and even on Bret, they're thinking it comes from his dad, Bob, my husband's side, because his aunts and them have had breast cancer. His could have come from the father's side.
So
not my side.
Has your dad been tested?
Dad's never been tested. No, Bob's never been tested.
Oh, okay.
But it may be something that needs to be done. And again, everything's a fight And
Yeah.
we're on Medicare, he's on Medicare, but I spent 4 hours today with Medicare just getting approval to go get my ultrasound approved.
Yeah.
And then finally, with the last agent I talked to, oh yeah, we pay for it. Don't worry about it. He was telling me I was going to have to pay 45% out of pocket. And I said, you're wrong. And I hung up on the guy.
Yeah, that
So all I
is
say is just hang up on them if you know they're not right. Because I was talking with the doctor's office
Right.
too. And she said, no. She says,
Yeah, 'cause
you'll
that could be
pay
a
10% out of your pocket, which is $10.
it could be a
So-
challenge, especially for him being a male. Like,
Oh,
it's
I fought for Bret to even get treatment for
Right.
weeks during his diagnosis.
so what led you? Well, take us through. Okay, you go through the treatment, you go through everything. You have the news. I've seen that you've been on Good Morning America, you've been everywhere. But prior to being everywhere, what caused your organization? Like, explain how this even came about?
It was my surgeons. It was
Dr.
them,
McCroskey.
it was them, speaking out and just telling me that, like, hey, if I was willing to share my story, that they believed that I could start helping people. And like I said, it wasn't until I met with the plastic surgeon is when I decided, okay, because it was about a week after diagnosis and everything. It all was coming at me like a freight train.
Right.
But it was a week after that, and that's when I put a Facebook post out there to all my friends and everything, just being like, if you haven't heard from me for a little bit, it's because I got the news that it's breast cancer and so on. And then I just kind of started talking about it. Had all these news reports and articles, local newspapers, magazines, all of that. And so we're like, well, if we're going to be trying to do some good and speaking out and everything, that's when we started the foundation. We started as the Bret Miller 1T Foundation.
Mhm.
I have, and the funny story about that is, like I said, I want to have some humor in it. My mom goes, what should we call it? And I go, the One Nipple Foundation. And she goes, we can't call it that. That's not appropriate. And I was like, well, you're no fun. So we had the shirts with the handprints and everything. My
Right.
name is spelled with 1T.
Because he was born
As
1 week
a week.
after the war.
Can I say it? Can I talk?
Go on.
Interrupting.
He kept telling me I misspelled
Peggy
his
has
name.
met. So I was born a week after the World Series. She knew that she was going to name me Bret when the Royals won the World Series. George Brett Saberhagen. Brett Saberhagen spelled with 1T. George Brett had 2 T's on his last name because it was the last name.
Pitcher
So-
and third baseman. So
And what? Yeah.
pitcher and third base.
So she chose Brett with 1T. And growing up, I met several other Bretts in school, and they all had 2 T's. I remember I always asked her, and I yelled at her, why do I have 1T? I'm so different. Everybody else has 2 T's. I don't like this, and blah, blah, blah. Well, it came full circle when I got diagnosed with breast cancer, because it's Bret with 1T, 1 tit, 1 nipple. So the Bret Miller,
Okay. So that's how the name came. Okay.
I still got my
used
One
the-
Nipple Foundation in there. It's just not stated.
So you
Bret
just
Miller.
use the actual first letter of each. Gotcha. Okay. So you have the foundation, but then the organization. So is it connected? And what's the name of the organization?
Yeah,
We started as the Bret Miller 1T Foundation. We've evolved to the Male Breast Cancer Happens.
so all these other men could tell their story. So
Right.
and that's what the website's about.
We've evolved so much. We've expanded. We've got men from all over the world sharing their story, and
Globally.
it just happened because they just started. They found us, like you found us.
They
Right.
Google us.
They reached out to us. They and everything. So we found that it was something bigger. So we've just we expanded. We've changed the name. Doing business as the Male Breast Cancer Happens, so that we get a little more awareness and taken a little more seriously, because nobody understands the 1T Foundation until I explain. Then they
I
go,
kind of got confused.
okay.
Yeah, I was like, what is these letters? Because it was when I asked for like your address, and I seen all, and I was like, wait, I don't remember. And then I went back to the website, and I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, so is the foundation the actual name? Then that's doing business as, like, I was kind of confused. So it makes sense now. Gotcha.
Yeah, and we
Okay.
abbreviated it as, like on the screen, BM1T and BCH, which is Bret Miller 1T, Male Breast Cancer Happens.
All right.
Because it does.
So if people type in Male Breast Cancer Happens, they can find your organization, because I really want people to know about it. So and I looked at the website, and it's absolutely magnificent how you all have it set up, and then the different stories that are out there, because when we're talking about also percentage, Bret and Peggy both, like when you were talking about like the men, like women do have more cases out there, but then again, who really knows? Because
Yeah.
And
Doctors may be walking around.
well, here's the
don't
deal.
know.
It's like our doctor told us. When they report a breast cancer case,
Mhm.
they cannot report female or male. They can only report by name and birth date.
Okay.
And so if you are a Pat, you could be a Patricia or you could be a Patrick.
Right.
And that just goes down most likely as a female. So
Wow.
numbers are so wrong out there as far as statistics.
Oh, certain statistics.
You know, American Cancer Society, I love them dearly. They work with us. They're the only one that wanted to recognize men and still do. But they can only report, they can take only the statistics, what's reported from doctors, and that is by name and birth date, not by
Okay.
female or male.
Okay.
Okay. So there's no way to tell. And then you have the LGBTQ communities
Right.
and stuff like that. You don't know. The
Yeah.
numbers are never going to be straight unless somebody raises their hand and said, I'm a male, I'm a female, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't know. So
Yeah, I was just, and then not just that, just also with the men who aren't going to the doctor to
Doctors.
report that they have like a lump or anything
Yeah.
like that to do further testing. That's the part that I was coming to, because I'm sure there's a lot of men who
they don't.
they're
Well,
not getting
And
checked.
a lot of them aren't even here because of that.
Right.
You know,
Right. 'Cause by the
they
time-
die and don't even know what they died of. So,
Right. Metastasized.
yeah.
Okay, so is there anything else that you all want to, you have any events or anything coming up soon?
Well, of course,
Anything
it's
you wanna talk about?
October, the only month that
Oh, yeah, yeah.
you
yeah.
know anybody gets breast cancer. But the first week of November 2nd and 3rd, that Thursday, Friday, we will be doing our annual, it'll be virtual again this year. We used to do it in person conference where we bring all specialists, researchers, and doctors,
Wow.
and they talk for each of them get a 30-minute spot. They talk for 15 minutes on the most up-to-date stuff about breast cancer. And then there's a 15 minutes of questions and answers that you, the
Nice.
person, whoever's on, just like on it, because it's all done through our Zoom channel, can ask questions. And then we record that. And then, like I said, if you go to our YouTube channel, you can go see at the very top where all of our specialists from last year. And there's some knowledge that will blow your mind. You know,
So that's
that-
November 2nd and 3rd?
yeah, it's gonna be that Thursday, Friday. It all comes down to, it's either winds up being one day or we start on a Thursday afternoon and run through Friday.
2nd and
And-
3rd of 2023, and it's virtual.
Right.
And I'm sure you're gonna have a flyer, so I'll.
Oh yeah, I'll have it all. It'll be going out through our Zoom, our email. We do. Any men out there, don't hesitate to email me. You can do that through the website. That if you have male breast cancer, your family, bottom line is we will put you on our mailing list. We send out the shirts for free. We want you to help spread the message to the world, because if you're wearing that, it makes people stop and say, oh, that's a fun shirt. And then you get to tell your story.
But also feel
Mhm.
welcome that you're not alone anymore. in
That's
your
right.
diagnosis, because that's been one of my biggest things, is that no male feels alone anymore when you hear the words you have breast cancer, because I felt that way.
Oh,
And I know
totally.
I've spoken to a lot of men since then, and they're like, oh, absolutely, I felt the exact same way. So
They're embarrassed. They don't want to talk about it. But we have a men's only
Wow.
group that meets monthly too, run by
Mhm.
Ron Rappaport. He is a retired pharmacist. Thought he was just going to have a great retirement. He gets breast cancer once, and then just this last year, he gets it a second time.
Mm.
And the poor man's been through a lot with the lymphedema and stuff, but he runs our men's only group, and brilliant. And Bret gets on it. Only men can get on that call.
Right.
So they can literally shoot the
just
shit.
time for us to talk,
Yeah.
What's going on, what's
get
happening.
things off our chest, and just give each other kind of an update where we're at, if there's any new treatments for anybody, and just talk about whatever we want.
I love how you all built the community that you have, because you have the survivor, caregiver, and then the co-founder, so you're giving different aspects to everybody who might need it. Just like for the women, we have like the spouses and caregivers and stuff, but then we also have the medical profession. Like, you all are giving everything to the men, and that has to make them feel, it's just
Well, it is, and
they're
it-
not
it-
alone and special.
And it's all the families, because
Right.
this is a family effort. And the only question I tell people is, the question you don't ask. I might not have an answer, but guess what? We will reach out to the people to find out, see if we can get you the answer.
Right.
But don't be afraid to ask a question. If it's
Mhm.
on your mind, do it. I get men, family members, 24/7 texting me, emailing me. Do you know about this? I said, no, I don't, but let's find out. And
Right.
we get the conversation going. We have many of the top doctors, Dr. Ben Park, Vanderbilt. He's part of our medical advisory board. If you look on our medical advisory board on the website, and
Mhm.
again, to give accolades to Bret's older brother, Blake, he built the website and his dad keeps up the website and keeps it all going. So that's a full family affair.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is we need to stay together because as I started, one of our mottos is men have breasts too, but
Mhm.
together we will change the world, hashtag,
Right.
because it takes every single one of us to keep asking questions, to keep
Absolutely.
getting with researchers, because guess what? Our doctors are just human beings also.
Right.
They learn from us, the patients.
It's called a practice.
That's
So
right.
Yeah.
medicine changes every single day. So everybody's
Yeah.
always asked, like, would you ever go back and sue your doctors for misdiagnosis,
No.
malpractice? I go, how? They're just
Right.
learning just as
Right.
it is. And what doctor in the right man, you're just going to think a 17-year-old male at the time with a lump, it's breast cancer, not
You're
one.
not.
So I
Yeah.
can't fault them for it. All I
No.
can do is ask them to keep educating themselves and be open to it, because we were at ASCO several years ago, the
The
global
major. Yeah.
Yeah.
policy in Chicago and everything. We still had doctors from other parts of the world come up and laugh and go, men don't get breast cancer while we're
This
standing.
is a joke.
So it's
That
just,
is so
all I can
sad.
ask is that doctors have an open mind. And when it comes to, we've asked, I even, after my diagnosis, I went back to the same doctor that sent me off for the ultrasound and asked him about adding breast exams for men and a physical. And he started throwing out the statistics of like 1% this and everything. So I was like, basically, you're telling me I'm paying $200 to walk in this door right now, and you're telling me it's not worth your time for maybe 30 seconds to a minute for you to do a quick little rub down feel on a breast for a male, which aren't going to be that large typically. And you're telling me it's not worth your time because you just want to throw statistics out there. It's kind of like, it was kind of
Yeah.
slap in the face, but it's just like, all we can do is ask them to start, to change.
Yeah. And that's I say, when your men are at their physicals, ask your doctor to check your breasts.
Mm-hmm.
They won't turn you down. And the bottom line is they just might find something. And
Yeah.
that may just save your life in the long run. So knowledge is power here, people.
Yeah. So Bret, is there anything that you want men, women, anybody to know straight from you? Like anything else you want people to know, just based off what you've gone through?
It's just that, men can get it too. It's not just women. If you feel a lump, if you have a discharge, a rash or dimpling of the skin and stuff, something just isn't seen right, go to a doctor. Get that first opinion, second opinion, third opinion, whatever, but you're your own best advocate, and it's going to take you to make a change. And don't wait. Quit waiting. Men, quit just pushing it off, because that's how we were raised, because of your dad, your grandpa, whatever. Society's changed a lot, and we need to be more proactive about our health.
Yeah. You're the only
Absolutely.
one who lives in your body. You're the only
Yep.
one who knows what's feeling like. And if you
Is
think it's something, it most likely is.
Yeah. Is there anything going on? I know we said October because
No.
really busy.
Well,
Is there anything
November is our virtual conference, and
right.
monthly we have our meetings with researchers, and we have our
Right.
men's only meeting. So if any man wants to be part of that, just email me. I get them on the list. They'll start getting emails. You're on our email list, so
Yeah.
that way you can pass it on to all the people you talk with. Feel free to share. It's what we're here for.
Okay. And so nothing's going on October though, because October.
We,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
stay
before
away
that.
from October because it is so crazy. We're
Okay, I
there.
didn't know
We're there
if
for anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rick gets tons of requests to be at different places. Because everything was virtual the last couple of years, it'll be interesting. San Antonio Breast Cancer Symposium is always in December. We always have had a booth there, but the last 3 years we have not had the booth because of COVID and stuff. but we have been there virtually with a booth.
Okay.
And so that's something, it is the realm globally. San Antonio Breast Cancer Symposium is really amazing. The first week of December, and they're already pushing out, and they have specialists from all over the world that come to that.
Yeah, I just got a flyer about it in another group that I'm in.
Yes,
It's a smaller
exactly.
group, but I just got a flyer about it because when you said San Antonio, I'm like, I know I've seen that.
Yeah,
So
and there's
I
booths,
just-
and they you know, they've always made sure we had a booth there because nobody talks about men.
So are y'all going this year or no?
I still am very hesitant. I've already committed virtually,
Okay.
but I'm just hesitant to still go in
Oh,
person.
got you. I got you.
Yeah, we'll be there virtually one way or the other.
It's
Okay.
difficult for me to during our so I manage a pool and an ice rink at the country club. So ice season's during that, so it's really hard to get out for some of those.
Okay.
During the season.
But that's why I usually am the one going and stuff. But virtual's been actually working almost better. As in person's fantastic, but virtual's amazing because we can reach so many more people.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll keep up with you all anyway. You know,
Always, we're
I'll
together.
repost
We're
it.
family now.
Yeah,
sister.
we're family now.
Anything anybody needs, don't hesitate
Yes,
to reach out.
y'all have been absolutely amazing. So as we wrap up, since we've covered pretty much everything, I think, I want to make for sure that, you know, your words. So Bret, I'm gonna start with you. What's one word that you can leave with the audience? And this is basically something to encourage people or something that they may want to use every day as they're looking at their wounds, their mental and physical wounds, you know, and to try to get them to, you know, like heal them as they're healing. So what's something that you can share, a word that you can share?
So I was looking at it. I think just overcome would be one of my ones and everything. It may seem dark and hard to think of, you know, getting past the cancer diagnosis at the time of your diagnosis, but if you set your mind right and you believe that you can get through it and you have the right support system around, you can totally overcome it. You need to have the support system in it.
Wow, that's good. And Peggy,
You
what's
know
your
me,
word? I think I know your word, but I'm gonna let you say it anyway.
Together, because it takes every damn one of us to make this happen. We can't do it alone, people.
Right.
We can't do it alone. So together.
Together. So stay together. All right.
Stay
And
together.
oh, that's right. You had a song. So yeah, that you had Survivor.
A little cheesy, but I mean it works.
It's not cheesy. It's not cheesy. So I'm gonna let Peggy explain this because Peggy was the one who gave me the song.
Well,
So Peggy,
I loved your video. I Will Survive. You put it out there, honey, and it was just perfect. As a videographer, put some together. I go, boy, Christina did.
I'm trying, y'all. I'm trying.
You did a great. It's beautiful. I've rewatched it several times, and I actually showed it to Riley, his 4-year-old, and she goes.
Aw.
And she's singing to it now, and that's my daddy all day today. I said, let me put your daddy's video on for you. I mean, she loved it, a 4-year-old. So, you know, it made a hit. And even the 1-year-old kept pointing like he still doesn't talk right, but he knew it was his dad.
That
was
is
just perfect.
awesome.
It's
So
beautiful.
what was your reasoning for that particular song? So it was Survivor by Gloria. I can't remember her last name.
Gloria Gaynor, isn't it?
Gaynor. Yeah.
Gaynor, yeah.
So
Yeah,
what
I
was
will.
the reason?
I will survive because, you know, I thought it was the darkest times. I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought my son wasn't going to be here with us. I didn't think he'd ever be able to have a family. And God proved different. Once you believe, anything can happen. And that's it. Just believe, people. Don't ever give up. I will survive.
Wow. Well, I'm going to leave you with something. And what I usually leave with, like I said multiple times, usually supposed to be a word, but I usually end up saying a whole sentence. So when I think of you all, I was sitting here thinking of different things per usual. Usually I come with the word and then I end up saying something totally different. So I just let God have his way. Faithful is what I see here. I see that you were faithful to your son. Your son in turn has been faithful globally. as well as you too, like the whole family. And that's what I see with you all. It's like there's a faithfulness. There's a faithful for what you believe in that isn't on this earth, that is God, your God, or whomever that you serve. You have that faithfulness, which led you through, Peggy, when you heard things about your son that you didn't even share with anybody. You held that in. And many mothers do that. We hold information in because we want to continue. It's okay. It's almost like kill us, but don't kill them.
Don't take it.
We'll hold it in, hold it all in, about to explode. But that comes from faith.
Yes,
That comes from perseverance. And when I see you all together, that's all I kept hearing is like faithful. They've been faithful over the little things, and God has now entrusted you with much more. And you're still faithful. You're faithful to each other as a family. I've looked at your pictures, Peggy. I've had conversation with you, and you not only just like I said, not just you all, but you invite other people into your family.
Absolutely.
And you're faithful to them. And so, yes, continue to be faithful over the call that's on your life. Continue to spread everything that you all are spreading now, and whatever else, prayerfully nothing else will happen, but whatever comes your way, continue to be faithful over those things, because you can always help someone. So yes, I just continue to be faithful.
Very much so. And it's God's way.
Mm-hmm.
I said, show me the way. I say it every night in my prayer. And every single day he shows me a way, or she, or whomever.
Right.
Shows us the way and introduces me to more people like yourself. That's amazing. And other men that are global, that there's so many men in Nigeria that are so scared because their country will not even treat men with breast cancer.
Yeah, you told me about that.
It's so sad. That's global, but we're making changes because we've talked to these men now for over 4 years, and they're finally getting some change because they're talking and they're getting the government's attention. And that's why I say to any man out there, don't ever feel alone. You're not. We're all here for you. And we're a big family, guys. It's sad we're a big family, but we are.
Yeah, it's sad what brought us together, but we're still family, and we're faithful to each other. And that's why I try to be faithful to people that I run in contact with. And I'm so glad that I met both of you. So we're gonna do what Peggy tells us to do, which is change the world. Like,
yes, ma'am, we're gonna do it.
It's so he's just sitting there like, yep.
Yeah. And come November. Yeah, as I say, come in November, we want you, Christina, to be on our virtual conference too. So make a plan. I'll get back. I'll be getting with everybody by the end of August. So
okay, great. I'll be there. I'll support you guys. Whatever
excellent.
You do.
That's it. We love you.
So, Bret, did you have anything else to say since you couldn't talk since we were talking?
Guys, don't be afraid to touch yourself.
Check.
I mean,
exams monthly.
And also the doctors have told us too, they try to make light of it too and everything. If you have a significant other, touch each other.
No, that's what I just said on, what was I on? Oh, I was on a pre-recording, and I was talking to a lady. She was talking about like her husband. I remember my husband looked at me one night. He's like, why is that breast locked? But yeah, you touch each other.
That's what it is. Make it an evening.
We have quite a few that it's the significant other is the one that actually found it. So we joke about it, but it's a serious thing. Like, it sometimes takes somebody else to point it out and and make you go do something. So absolutely. Well, thank you.
Love you, kiddo.
Thank you. And tonight, this concludes another episode of Our Scars Speak. And remember that our mental and physical scars speak a story that should be told and needs to be heard. So never be ashamed to share it when the time is right and when you feel comfortable. There's no pressure, but just know that your scars definitely have a voice. And until next time, we love you and we see you later. Bye, guys. Thank you.